Hey everyone. My name's Sarah. I'm 28, a single mom doing my best to hold it together day by day. I live in a cramped little apartment with my 2-year-old daughter, Lily. She's my sunshine, my whole world. But being a single parent, it's no walk in the park. I grind through long shifts as a waitress, barely making ends meet. Still, I'd go through fire for that tiny, giggling soul. Then there's my older sister, Jessica, the one who seems to have everything under control. She's a high-powered attorney with a picture-perfect home and a husband named Mark, who looks like he came straight off the set of a rom-com. I won't lie, sometimes, when I compare my life to hers, I feel like I'm falling apart in slow motion. "How are you holding up, Sarah?" Jessica asked one afternoon, dropping by unannounced. She stood in my doorway in a sleek designer suit, not a strand of hair out of place, while I was elbow-deep in dirty dishes with Lily wrapped around my leg like a vine. "Oh, just living the dream," I replied with a laugh, trying to sound more cheerful than I felt. Jessica gave me that signature look, a mix of sympathy and subtle concern. "How about I take Lily for the weekend? You could squeeze in a few extra shifts or just breathe for a bit." I hesitated. Asking for help made my stomach twist. But the truth was, a little extra cash would be a lifesaver. "You sure? I don't want to put you out." "Don't be silly. Mark and I love having her over. It'll be fun," she said, already scooping Lily up into her arms. My little girl squealed in delight and planted a big, wet kiss on her aunt's cheek. "Thanks, Jess. You're seriously a lifesaver," I said, a swell of gratitude rising in my chest. Her life may look flawless from the outside, but Jessica had always been there when it mattered. While she was packing Lily's things, Jessica turned to me. "Hey, mind if I borrow your phone charger? Mine's acting up again." "Sure, it's in my purse on the kitchen table. Help yourself," I called out while wrestling Lily into her tiny jacket. I heard her rustling through the bag, and for a split second, something in my gut tugged. It felt off, like she could have waited for me to hand it over. But I shook the feeling away. She's my sister, for crying out loud. After they left, I collapsed onto the couch and let the quiet settle in. I should have been cleaning or prepping dinner, but instead, I found myself scrolling through Jessica's social media feed, glamorous vacation photos, courtroom wins, cozy selfies with Mark. A curated reel of the perfect life. I sighed and tried to stuff down the envy clawing at my chest. "Come on, Sarah. Get it together," I muttered. Jessica worked hard for what she had, and she'd always been there for me and Lily. My phone buzzed. A message from Jessica lit up the screen. "Lily's having a blast. Don't work too hard this weekend, sis. Love you, 2 hearts." I smiled, emotions crashing into one another, gratitude, loneliness, envy, but above all relief. I was lucky to have her. A few days passed in a blur, and eventually, I got around to tackling the chaos that was my apartment. Lily's toys were everywhere. The laundry pile was rivaling Everest, and I was stuffing clutter into closets like a magician doing sleight of hand. That's when I noticed it. Jessica's designer purse, sitting pretty on the coffee table. "How the heck did I miss that?" I muttered, grabbing it. The thing probably cost more than my rent. As I picked it up, it slipped from my fingers and tipped, spilling everything onto the floor. "Seriously," I groaned, crouching to scoop it all back in. That's when I spotted something odd. A thick envelope of documents with embossed seals and signatures. Curiosity got the best of me. I slid one out. My heart slammed in my chest. Adoption forms. With Lily's name. Jessica and Mark were listed as the adoptive parents. "No," I whispered, pulse hammering in my ears. "This can't be real. There's no way." I sat back on the floor, my hands trembling, flipping through the pages. The documents were detailed, signed, stamped, legal. It felt like the air had been ripped out of the room. Why would she have these? Why would my own sister have adoption papers for my daughter? Then it hit me, heavy and sharp like a punch to the gut. She's trying to take my baby. I sat frozen, nausea twisting in my stomach. My own sister, the person I trusted most, was planning to steal my child. Desperate, I dug deeper into the purse. Maybe there was an explanation. Something that made sense. But every new thing I found only made it worse. A forged birth certificate listing Jessica as Lily's mother. Fake medical documents. A plane ticket, one way to another state. Each discovery felt like another knife in my back. I couldn't breathe. How could she do this? To me? To Lily? My phone buzzed again and I jumped. Another text from Jessica. Hey sis, just realized I left my purse at your place. Mind bringing it over later? I stared at the screen in disbelief. What was I supposed to say? Sure thing, Jess. Also, thanks for planning to kidnap my child. Then another message popped up. Also, Mark and I were thinking of taking Lily for another weekend soon. Just to give you a little break. A break? More like a chance to vanish with my daughter forever. I sank to the floor, surrounded by the scattered evidence of betrayal, and let the tears fall. What the hell was I going to do? How could I protect Lily now? Who could I even trust? One thing was certain, I wasn't letting anyone take my baby away. Not Jessica. Not anyone. I may be broke, exhausted, and barely hanging on, but Lily is my everything. And I'd go to war to keep her safe. I took a deep breath and pulled myself together. I needed a plan. I needed someone to help me. But most of all, I needed to act normal. At least until I figured out what to do next. With trembling hands, I shoved every document back into Jessica's purse and zipped it shut. For now, I had to pretend I didn't know a thing. Later that night, I sat on Maya's couch, spilling everything. Maya's been my ride or die since high school, and right now the only person I could trust with this nightmare. Girl, this is some seriously twisted stuff, Maya said, shaking her head. We need to dig. Something's off. We opened her laptop and started piecing things together. As the puzzle formed, the picture got uglier. Maya scrolled through Jessica's social media and paused. Wait a sec, she said, pointing to the screen. Didn't you tell me Jessica can't have kids? I leaned in closer, my jaw practically unhinging. There she was, Jessica, flaunting what looked unmistakably like a baby bump in her most recent photos. What the hell? I murmured, stunned. She told everyone she was expecting, Maya said, brows raised in disbelief. We kept scrolling. One post after another, glowing selfies from doctor visits, snapshots of baby gear shopping, captions about nursery colors. It was all a show. Fabricated. And somehow, she made it all look real. She's been planning this for months, I whispered, my stomach churning. Maya reached over and squeezed my hand. We need to see her email. You still remember the password? I nodded reluctantly. It felt wrong, like invading her privacy, but this was bigger than guilt. Once we logged in, the reality hit harder than anything I imagined. Emails to a shady attorney discussing expedited adoption across state lines. The replies were vague, coded even, but it was clear something illegal was in motion. Oh my God, I breathed, scrolling endlessly through the damning threads. Maya's eyes widened as she scanned the screen beside me. Wait, look at this one. It's from Mark. My heart pounded as I opened the message. The content was sickening. A full-blown plan to take Lily and disappear, backed by a claim that I was addicted to substances and unfit to parent. Substance abuse. Maya asked, bewildered. You barely even drink. I don't know. I stammered. I felt off lately, foggy. But drugs? Never. The deeper we dug, the uglier the picture became. Jessica had slowly been cutting me off, steering me away from friends and family with subtle excuses, always making me feel like it was my choice. Remember when she told you that cousin Amy was spreading rumors about you? Maya said. I nodded slowly, shame creeping in. You think that was a lie too? Guaranteed, she replied. It wasn't just manipulation. It was control. Even the financial support she'd been giving me was part of it, making me dependent, weakening my position. And then we found the worst of it. A string of messages between Jessica and someone listed only as TK. They were discussing acquiring small quantities of prescription sedatives. At first, I didn't get it. Then it clicked. Oh my God! I gasped, nausea rising in my throat. She's been drugging me. Maya turned pale. She's been slipping stuff into your food to make you seem unstable, she said quietly. She's building a case to make you look like an addict. I could barely stand. My head spun as the magnitude of Jessica's betrayal took hold. My own sister, poisoning me, isolating me, trying to erase me, all to steal my child. What am I supposed to do now? I whispered, more afraid than I'd ever been. They've got resources, lawyers. Money. And I'm just a waitress. Maya took my shoulders, forcing me to meet her eyes. You're not alone. We've got proof. And now we fight back. I took a shaky breath, wiping away tears I didn't even realize were falling. She was right. I couldn't collapse now. Lily needed me, more than ever. Okay, I said. What's our next move? Maya's lips curled into a fierce smile. Now. We set a trap. That night, we got to work. Maya was incredible, helping me organize everything, even connecting me with her cousin, a lawyer who agreed to help. She also rigged my apartment with hidden cameras and audio recorders. Your word won't be enough, she said as she adjusted one of the lenses. I nodded, my stomach in knots. When Jessica called a few days later, offering to take Lily again, it took everything I had to sound calm. That'd be great. Thanks, sis, I said, praying she didn't catch the quiver in my voice. She showed up all smiles, kissed Lily's cheek, and whisked her away, completely unaware that her performance was now under surveillance. Hours later, Maya and I hunched over her laptop, watching the footage. I clenched my jaw as we saw Jessica rummaging through my things, whispering on the phone. It's all set for next week, she said. Sarah doesn't suspect a thing. I wanted to scream, but we needed more. The next day, I invited her over for coffee. My phone, hidden in my pocket, recorded every word. We made small talk until I casually mentioned a bag of old clothes I was thinking of donating. You know that shelter that helps moms get out of abusive situations? Jessica stiffened. I wouldn't recommend that, she said quickly. Places like that attract unstable people. Addicts. I pushed just a bit further, and she took the bait. She launched into a tirade about how women in those situations were unfit and how children deserved stable homes. Her tone was cold, calculated. I sat through it all, my heart pounding, my fists clenched in my lap. We had her. The final act came days later. I invited Jessica, Mark, and a few close family members over for dinner. My hands shook as I set the table. But I was ready. After dessert, I stood up. There's something I need to tell you, I said, my voice firm. I laid it all out, the forged adoption papers, the fake pregnancy, the drugs, the surveillance footage. Then I pressed play on the recordings. The room exploded. Jessica jumped up, her face ashen. She's lying. Sarah's unstable. She's on drugs. But then everyone turned to Mark. He didn't speak. He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Jessica, he said, voice cracking, what did you do? Turns out, she'd been manipulating him too, feeding him false stories about my drug addiction. He hadn't known about the forged papers, or the poisoning. Jessica snapped. It's not fair, she screamed. I deserve that baby. More than her. Why does she get a child and I don't? Her jealousy, years of it, poured out like venom. It didn't sound like my sister anymore. It sounded like a stranger wearing her skin. When the police arrived, she fought them, kicking and screaming as they dragged her out. I collapsed into Maya's arms, shaking with relief. The weeks that followed were a blur. Statements, hearings, restraining orders. Jessica faced a mountain of charges, and I began to rebuild. Family and old friends reached out, apologizing for believing her lies. It wasn't easy, but I was working on forgiving them. Months later, I was pushing Lily on a swing at the park. She squealed with laughter, her little hands reaching for the sky. Hi, Mama! Maya sat nearby, smiling as always. And for the first time in forever, I felt like I could breathe. Jessica was gone. Her poison couldn't touch us anymore. And while my life still wasn't perfect, I had something better, peace, truth, and a daughter who knew she was loved. I may not have all the answers, but I have my baby. I have real friends. And I have strength I never thought I had. And honestly, that's more than enough. The story might be over, but now I want to ask you something. If you were in my shoes, could you ever forgive Jessica? Or are some betrayals just too deep? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this roller coaster, hit that like button and subscribe for more intense true stories. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.